Hey everyone, this is Beacon, the poi mechanic. Today's video is a demonstration on how to make contact poi with this new special rope that I found. This stuff is, it's by New England Ropes. It's called Endura Brade, and it's basically a polyester jacket covering a Dyneema, also known as Technora, cord on the inside. This stuff, Cassandra Smith turned me on to it, Fire Drums, and I played with it a little bit, and I really like the feel of it. What's nice about it is it has a really nice flex to it. It's also super smooth, or smooth compared to other ropes, I guess. And it's if you could see, it's really tightly woven right there. That's why it's called the Enduro Brade, is how the weave is there. But they make it in many different colors. This stuff, I like the flex stuff. It seems to have a little bit better feel to it than like the Euro Brade stuff. Euro Brade has little teeny flecks, different colors in it. There's usually two colors, but this one's red with gray flecks. This stuff seems to, not quite be as flexible as this is, and it has just a slightly different, maybe rougher feel. I don't know if that's, different each batch they make or what, but this is the stuff I got. I got this from Vela Supply Company, or Vela Sailing Supply. I'll have a link in the description. They seem to be the cheapest that you can find out there. This other rope that I've been using from Etsy shop, Flow on Fire, it's polyester as well, but it doesn't quite seem to have the same feel as this stuff. And it's a little rougher, but over time it does soften up. I do like this stuff. The balls that I'm using are also from that same Etsy shop. I just got these in. They're really nice and squishy. I like them. Or not super squishy, but squishy compared to like Homo Poi balls or whatever. This video is to show you how to do this no slit method. Basically means you're not going to be cutting a hole in your ball and then sliding it through this hole and then tying a knot and then pulling it back through. You're basically just going to have one hole, which is what your rope goes through. So I'll get started on that now. The way I'm doing this is like I've done with my other setups, which is like the Technora setup that I'm doing. But since this is Technora and polyester, it has a little different different method of doing it. It's kind of the same, but for anybody just watching this, for this type of rope, here's how I do it. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a mold out of wood with a step bit. This is a bit that you can get from Home Depot or Ace Hardware. It basically steps up to different hole sizes. In this case, I'm going to use an 11/16 hole size. So it'll go in about that far. That creates a nice little cone. And then what I'm going to do is I've got these little nylon washers from Ace Hardware. They're 3/8 inside diameter. I think it said 5/8 outside diameter, but it's more like 11/16 because this goes right into that and makes it nice and flush. The reason I'm using this is because if you just stick the fibers in there, for one, the fibers tend to bunch up. So they're going to want to stick out of the top here. So if you don't have a way of like packing them into here, it's just going to not leave a nice smooth flat surface on the back. And you kind of want that because if you're sticking this through your poi, you want this this back surface to be nice and flush to the ball. So another thing I like this washer for is it keeps fluid from the epoxy from going up inside through between the washer and the rope and get on the back side of the rope. Now the epoxy that I'm using is DEFCON Home. It's a 5-minute epoxy. It's clear. They make a gel version. I haven't worked with that, but I assume this stuff is probably going to be easier just because you want the fibers to get in there and covered with the stuff. And I don't know if the gel would really get down deep into the fibers or not. This stuff is 5 minutes, so it happens really quick once you start mixing it. You can get the stuff that you mix by hand. It takes a minute to mix or whatever, really nice and smooth. So you only have about 4 minutes of work time, and it really is not even that much. This stuff can come with this tube or this mix tip. I recommend this because you basically just inject it into the mold like a syringe. So what I've done is, first of all, I put my handle on my rope first. The reason I did that is because, well, I'll get to that here in a minute. The way I did that is I basically pulled the inside part of the rope out from this outside a little bit. So basically the inside, if this was my end right here, the inside rope is back here, and that will allow this to kind of collapse and create this nice little cone right here. So that way it'll get inside the handle a little bit easier. So that's what I did on that end. On this end, with this washer, you can just tape this end up and then feed the washer through. You can do the same thing like I did on this end to kind of make a cone on the end, but it's really tight. So if you have a drill bit or like a Dremel or something, it's easier just to drill this part out. Just a tad bit, and it slips over a lot easier. I then put tape on the back side like I did here, and that keeps the washer from moving back, and it also keeps fluid from getting onto this this side of the rope. Now I cut this rope, actually I'll probably bring that down about there. So about 3/8 inch. And the reason you don't want to go any longer than that is because it won't fit into the hole very well, and the fibers will come out over the edge when you try to push it down like that. And so you're going to have a tool to like feed the rope into the hole, and then that plug will plug it nice and perfect like that, and it'll be nice and center. Now, if you're doing this in a big production, you might not want to buy these washers. I don't know, you might want to as well, but another thing you can do if you don't put the knob on first like I did, you can just get like I think a piece of PVC pipe would probably be about the same inside and outside diameter that you need for this, and you can just slide the pipe over there, let that solidify, and then pull the pipe off. That way you're not having to buy these little washers, but they're only like 25 cents a piece, so it shouldn't matter. Okay, so next thing I want to do is I want to coat my my mold. I use chapstick. You just want some kind of releasing agent on there. Chapstick seems to be a good at that because it's kind of got a waxy residue to it. So I'll coat the inside of it, and I'll coat the top of it as well, because if you get epoxy on the top, you don't want it sticking to the wood. This stuff does stick to a lot of things, so I recommend having piece of cardboard or something down, and also it'd be wise to wear gloves because it'll definitely stick to your hands and it's not fun. So I take a Q-tip and I get some chapstick or lip balm on it, and then go down here and get that hole nice and lubed up. If you have any dry spot in there, that's epoxy will stick to it, and it's going to make it a pain in the butt to get it to release. If that happens, though, and you have access to a saw, I've had to saw one of these before when I didn't get it coated enough, and I just saw it on both sides and then break it right off. That worked really well. Okay, now I'm ready to get this thing filled up here. Now, if you use this, either the one with the mixed tip or not, there's probably going to be air bubbles in here. So before you use it, kind of hold it up like that. The air bubble should go up towards the top. You don't want to get an improper mixture, because if you do that, then it's just going to mix, one side too much and the other side too little, and it just doesn't quite solidify like you want it to. Now this will come with 2 different tips, and I recommend doing 2 or even 3 sets at a time, because if you're using 1 set for your handles and then 1 set for the plugs, you only get 2 tries. So here we go. There's also a little stopper on here, so once I get to a certain point, I'm going to pop that thing off. But you see it mixing in the tip together right there. I'm going to start putting some in the bottom of this hole here. And I probably went about a third of the way up. Now I'm going to use the tip and kind of get this on the inside of this rope. I'm going to push it back and forth, in and out. And you really want to make sure you get a good bond between the inner rope and the outer rope. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay. There you go. It's nice with some flush. This stuff is, it's good to go ahead and do this while you can. It's just kind of scrape it away from around the washer. You wait too long, it gets kind of gooey, so you have to wait even a little bit longer, and then you can scrape it off in its more solidified state. But you're basically just going to scrape around the edge here so that when this whole thing pulls out, you won't have to do any cutting. Okay, while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in here for my cord. Now, there's different ways of doing it, but I recommend starting off small and creating a pilot hole, and then work your way up with bigger drill bits. The reason you don't want to start off with just a straight up bigger drill bit is a lot of times, unless the drill bit has a tip on the end that kind of sticks out a little bit that's smaller to create a pilot hole, it will just walk all over this until it really bites into it, and that just mars up the ball a bit, so I don't recommend that. Okay, ready to pull this out now. If you have any fibers that didn't quite get in this hole, now's a good time to cut them, because it'll be a lot easier to cut against wood than doing it without. And then if you got too much of a buildup around your washer, you can just use an X-Acto knife or something to make it easier on yourself to pull this out. You can just cut this little film that is built up around here, and then it should pop out. Okay. Now, if it doesn't want to pop out, like that one's been a little stubborn, put your feet on both sides of the board and just yank up really quick. Okay, and there you go. That's what you're left with. Now, I didn't get this quite coated as I should enough with my chapstick, so there's little pieces of wood that stuck to it. Luckily, it came out easily enough, but that's why it's really important to get this coated. If you have any sharp edges on here from the epoxy, just make sure to go ahead and cut that off now before you stick it into your ball. And also, if you, because you don't want any sharp edges, but also if you have any like air pockets in here that didn't get completely done with epoxy, when you do your handles, just put a little dab on that and stick it back down in there, and it'll form nicely. So now to stick it into the ball, I recommend using chapstick again, just as a nice little lubricant or something around here, so it'll slide into the hole a little easier. Now, some balls are easier than the other. These balls I got from Flow on Fire are a little bit more firm, so you might have to take pliers or something and stick on the backside like that, and then push on the washer with the needle nose part until it slides in. And you know what I forgot to do is take the tape off, but I'll go ahead and take that off. Okay, onto the handles here. Now the inner rope and the outer rope are separate, obviously, so they'll slide in and out of each other. Once you bond the ropes together with the plug, if your handle is down here and you're pulling on the handle, it's going to be so tight on this rope that it's going to pull the inner rope and the outer rope to the same exact length, which will make the rope, you know, nice and tight. But now you can play around with that. You can get the outer rope to be a little spongy. The way you would do that is pull the handle to right a little past where you would normally want it before you cut it, and then hold on to the Technora, and then push the inner handle towards the head, or push the handle towards the head, and that creates the spongy effect because the outer rope is going to be just slightly longer than the inner rope. So it gives it a nice feel. So play around with that, figure out what you want. So I've got my measurement here, and I'm going to cut this rope at the top of where I want the handle to be. And that's what I'll be left with. Now, when you pull this up to the point at which the rope is going to be buried, make sure to pinch on the back side of this, because especially if you've made your rope spongy in here, you don't want to lose. You don't want the inside to pull away from the outside. So push it like that, and then we're going to fill that with epoxy. So I'm going to get my other one set up, and we'll do them both at the same time. All right, I'm getting ready to put epoxy into the handles here. This is the one I did last month here, and as you can see, the inside has shrunk a little bit. So this stuff does shrink. It was flush up top, so it's dropped down maybe 1/8 of an inch. If you ever wanted to add more weight in the future, this would be a good way to do it, is to push the handle out and then put weights underneath it. Now, if you think you might want to do that, I recommend coating the inside of this with a thin layer of chapstick. Now, this doesn't stick to silicone very well. It's hard to find anything that sticks to silicone very well, but just if you want, you can go ahead and put a little bit of epoxy on the outside, or chapstick on the outside as well. Have a skewer nearby. We're going to fill this up and we're going to move these fibers around because you really want to get the epoxy to the bottom of this, so it creates a nice plug on the bottom so fibers won't pull out. So here we go. I made the mistake of getting this stuff on one of the ropes one time and it kind of ruined the rope, so that's why I put this in between a piece of the cardboard, kind of protect the rope. So anyways, just move the skewer up and down, in and out of this thing to try to get all the glue inside to bond those fibers, just like you did on the plug. Okay, so I got it all filled in there. Now, if you have a fiber that's sticking out a little bit because you didn't get the ends cut flush, if you wait to about the 3.5 to 4 minute mark, you can put your thumb on the center there and then like twist, and it should push the fibers into the glue. If you do it too late, it's going to be setting up and you won't have success. If that happens, you can just cut the fiber off with a razor blade. Yeah, so that's the video on this. I really appreciate Andrew Smith for turning me on to this. I hope this helps somebody out there. I recommend this setup. These things feel so amazing, so well balanced, and the rope and everything just works really well. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to my videos. If you have any products you want me to review, please send them my way and I would be glad to do so. And if you have any suggestions on how to do this better, I would be all ears to that. So if you use any of these methods, and if you're making poi for a shop or whatever, I just ask that I get recognition for turning you on to this idea if you use it. And yeah, thanks for watching and have a good day.